to Alternatives. I'm Al DiGiacomo, and today we're taping the show in the gallery of the Presbyterian Church of Franklin Lakes. And with us now is the featured artist for January 2002, is Cara Krafchick. Cara is also a practitioner of the ancient Japanese self-healing art Jinshin Jitsu, a hands-on energy balancing system which restores harmony to the mind, body, and spirit. We will explore this exhibit, including the poetry written by the artist, bringing words and visual art together in a presentation entitled Healing Images. We found this combination interesting and hope that you will too. Cara, welcome back to Alternatives.
Hello, Al. How are you?
I'm very well. Cara, we had such a positive response to the first Jinshin Jitsu show.
Everyone struggles.
It's such a mouthful.
Everyone struggles over that one.
Could you give our viewers who might have missed that program a little background into what exactly Jinshin Jitsu is?
I'd be glad to. Jinshin Jitsu is a 7th century healing art that was brought to this century by Hiro Murai, who lived in Japan at the early part of the century. And he found himself critically and terminally ill, at which point he told his family to take him to their country home, to leave him there for a week, and that when he returned, they returned for him, he would either be well or dead. And so during that week, he meditated, he did deep breathing, and he did what was left and what was known of this ancient healing art, so working with the fingers.
He had a previous knowledge of this.
Yeah, it was like word of mouth. So if the child had a sore throat, the mother said, well, we'll hold this, we'll do this, holding this position. And some of these things that they remembered or that they knew, just as we pass down wives' tales, with our own children.
So he had gone with this as almost like a last-ditch effort for himself?
It was what he believed would heal him or not.
Okay.
And he meditated, and he did his deep breathing, and he worked with finger holds. And during that time, his body got very, very cold, and to the point where he thought for sure he was dying. And then on the 7th day, it heated up, and as he cooled down, he began to realize that he was getting well. And then he spent the next 50 years researching the archives. His family were a family of physicians. They were very well placed in Japanese society, so he had access to these ancient archives. And then he went all throughout Japan, and he worked on people with all different maladies. And he'd work with them, say, people who had ear problems, and he'd stay with them for a bit and work to understand how that related to this art and the flows in the body, cancer, eye problems. And he compiled this art, and he taught 2 people in his lifetime. One was Mary Burmeister, who now is in Arizona. She's in her 80s, and she studied with him for many years and then brought this to the United States, which was his request that she do that. And another is a doctor who still practices in Japan. So what Jinshin Jitsu is based on is the energy patterns in the body. We listen to the textures of the wrist. There are pulse readings there. And then from that reading, you can tell where the body is out of harmony. And then you do hands-on over clothing, holding the body at different safety energy lock positions. And then the energy moves through the body. So the blocks begin to disperse, and the body can act in a more natural and holistic way for that being. And it also works within the soul. So it goes, we don't have to worry about doing the wrong thing. It goes to exactly what the body needs at that moment.
So if someone is suffering from a blockage, that blockage could be caused by a deep, festering emotional problem. And by doing this, I guess it opens up, you feel better, and you're on your way to feeling better, being your body working harmoniously.
And in my case, I work intuitively. So what that means as a spiritual intuitive is that I work to help the client understand where that blockage may be. And so through our conversation, just opening to spirit, because Jinshin Jitsu connects you with the universal life force, however you call that. We call it God, but it's that force of life. And then as we talk, things happen. In our conversation, things open up. places that the person may not even realize are contributing to the present situation, whether it's ill health that they're suffering, poor relationships, job problems, stress, emotional disorders, whatever it is, there is a root somewhere. And in our coming together, it's amazing how these things come up. And then once that happens, it helps the whole body, the whole being, to restore itself. It's amazing.
Does it open up compassion for oneself, compassion for others?
Well, that's a good question, and I thank you for asking that, because in my understanding and working all these years within my own life, and also with people with whom I am so privileged to work, it seems to me the energy of the time is compassion. And compassion is deep understanding and love first to the self. And in compassion we take in the whole picture. You know, not just love. What is love? It's so hard to define, but compassion is love in action. It's being willing to incorporate the light, the dark, the things we like, the things we don't like within ourselves first, and then of course we can do that more with others. So it's an amazingly powerful instrument of God, of love, of healing.
Okay. So how does the combination of the energy work and the creative visualization lead to healing and greater emotional freedom?
That's another good question. The creative visualization is amazing. I started using it years ago in my own life, and so I found its powerful effects in my own life. In the healing work, it helps. I've done it with children, people who are very ill today. I worked with a family whose little infant son was being operated on for a tumor. And we sat in the waiting room, and it was just so wonderful. And we prayed together, and we visualized this tumor. And we visualized it shrinking. We visualized this wonderful light just surrounding this tumor and watching it disappear. So for them, each of them saw it differently.
Right, I was just about to ask that.
Because I like to let them, you know, not everyone can visualize, but they might feel it or they sense it. So it's not that you have to have an image, but we can have an image without a picture.
It's a focal point for one's
intention.
Or one's, the energy that keeps us all alive and able to love is what you're focusing on. That's the energy of life, the energy that surrounds us all and makes everything grow.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so by honing in on this energy and the visualization, it may not be visualizing into a tumor, but people visualize things that would make them happy, a better job.
Yep.
People visualize different things to center their attention, their mind, their focal point. And so I guess when you get over that hole, is that where the emotional freedom comes in?
Well, this is the image I had that I wanted to share with the audience and with you. In the area of a broken heart, very often when I'm working with a client, I'll ask them to visualize their heart. And I'll say, describe the way it is now. And so depending on what their scenarios, they might say, well, I see it, but it has a dark shadow over one side, or it has a tear, or it has an arrow, it has a thorn. And then as we work and direct the light and the compassion to the heart, they'll start to see that fade. And that begins the process that will ultimately lead to more freedom, because these wounds will inhibit us and keep us from trusting ourselves, trusting life, trusting our loved ones. When we have a wound that hasn't been healed, it will continue to grow within us and also draw like moss. It draws more negativity. So by understanding and bringing the light to it, it's amazing. It's like once that light is there, everything changes. It has a chance to shift. You don't have to work so hard at it. It's just allowing yourself to open to it, and then the light will do it. It's amazing how that happens.
Let the sunshine in.
Get the mystery, yeah. So open the light and then embrace the shadow.
Yeah. You believe that archetypical art is healing in itself, that symbols and metaphors speak the language of the soul. Can you illustrate this concept in words before we
Yeah.
walk about in the gallery?
It has a lot to do with the Jungian psychology, the belief that our unconscious holds all the knowledge of what has ever transpired in our lives, and gives it to us in symbols through our dreams. So that because we can't consciously know the thing, because it's too scary, it's too frightening, it's too painful. So in our dreams we'll get images, we'll get symbols, and that when we know that and we can work to understand those symbols, it's a map to our own soul. So certain symbols will mean certain things, like a bird represents freedom. We know that without even thinking about it. We see the flight of a bird and immediately we're lighter, we're freer. The same thing with a rose, a flower. A butterfly is transformation. So that's a great one. It's one of my own personal symbols. And when you think of the caterpillar hopping along, on his little branch and then going into this cocoon, this chrysalis state, which we will go into many times in our life as we're growing and as we need to go within to understand and to change. And then out of that emerges this being. If you saw the two together, you would never think they're related. And yet the energy of the butterfly is the same as the energy of the caterpillar, but it has gone through a metamorphosis, an alchemical change.
So when people see your artwork, this will conjure up in their own being feelings of freedom or feelings of love.
Whatever the image is. And I was amazed to see that had that effect. This is the first time I've actually brought all of it together like this, and to watch people respond was such a joyous experience for me, because, I work alone in my little studio and do my thing, and, you just pour it out there. But when you see people respond from that place, it's such a gratitude and just the best.
I think with that, we should take the audience into the gallery and have you read some of your poetry and bring the artwork and the words of your poetry together. So when we come back, we're going to take a little walk around the gallery.
My work is entitled Healing Images, and so the images you will see reflect the soul's longing and the cry of the heart. Words also are a language of the soul, and at a certain point in my work, I discovered that I had a need to write as a further expression of the soul. I'd like to share with you one of those poems that reflect this dance of life, and it's entitled The Chalice. The chalice stands empty, waiting to be filled. What sweet elixir comes to shatter its hollow longing? The purple grape creates a royal wine, full-bodied, rich, and deep. Its heady fragrance dances around the rim, inviting a drop to cast itself into the abyss. The chalice seems to shiver in anticipation. Fill me, it cries. Fill me to the depths of my wanting. Let the aroma rise as its first drops splatter into the cup. What longing is this that yearns for fulfillment? Is it the call of the heart looking for itself in the eyes of another, the lips of another, in the comforting arms of the beloved? Oh yes, these things quench the thirst, but not the longing, though they seem to for a time. As lost in love, we forget the quest, and the chalice stands alone. Waiting, waiting, still and waiting. There is but one thing that can fill the chalice full and brimming. It is the sweetest of all nectars, human kindness, mercy and love directed inward to our own hearts, the place we are most unwilling to travel. So unaware are we of the depths of our own need residing in that stillness. And why not? For so many, these needs were unmet during childhood's lonely walk. The heart grows silent after so many rejections and denied pain, so many moments of tenderness lost to the treadmill of modern life. Perpetual motion, business without real purpose, anything to take the focus off of feelings. For it is within our feelings that we are able to dance the magic of life. Whether happy or sad, no matter. It is the dance that counts. Swirling, spinning, and weeping or laughter, dance on, dance on. Catch the drops of life as they fall upon the heart. For it is these drops that fill the chalice, drops that fall fresh from the hand of God, sent to replenish our wounded spirits and quicken our weary souls. calling us to the table, brothers and sisters all, to partake of the banquet prepared for those daring enough to dance. Thank you. This painting and this poem have a special meaning to me. I have 5 grandchildren. 2 of them were born 2 years ago now, 2 weeks apart. And on the way home from my daughter's giving birth to Olivia, I wrote this poem. And so it is from a photograph of of Jordan, actually, but it turns out to look like Jordan and Olivia together, so a reflection of them. And so maybe it's symbolic also of the newest one, just born, Alexandra. So I'm going to read this because I think it reflects every parent and grandparent's feelings when they look into a baby's eyes, which is what it is entitled. A sweet cherub newly awakened to the earthly plane gazes through newborn veils into a mother's love-filled eyes. Wonder of wonder, this miracle of birth, a divine revelation of God's mystical presence, an assurance of love's existence in a world of technical marvels and intellectual pursuits. O child of mine, your eyes hold so much within their depths. Our family tree casts roots deep into this newly emerging soul, where the spirit of generations past with their love, strength, and determination shine through these orbs, reaching out to remind us of forgotten struggles and triumphs, validating once again life's continuing labyrinth through pain and joy, cycles upon cycles of human hearts yearning for warmth and belonging. Within these eyes are reflected faces of those that we have loved, whose influence is felt although they are no longer with us, branches of the family tree that will bear fruit through the life of this dear child. Gazing now so sweetly into the eyes of Mom and Dad, life renewing itself, granting yet another opportunity for the human heart to come closer, ever closer, to the welcoming arms of God. But we all have experiences in our lives that remind us that we are on a journey. The next poem reflects that journey, as does this painting called Leah, Strength Through Serenity. And it's called The Sheltered Heart. Deep, deep within the twisted layers, labyrinth upon labyrinth, existing as monuments to a past so intricately woven, is the tapestry that is my life. Patterns reflect the converging paths, each significant of a journey taken in faith, that this path, oh yes, this path, will lead me home. Home. What is home to a weary traveler in search of belonging? Is it a safe harbor from life's tempest? Oh, it has been that at times when I have been able to find such a shelter. The harbor was a respite only, though, as the call to truth demanded yet another departure. Leaving behind a half-lived sonnet, the melody not quite right, the rhythm confining, choking out the song in the night. Deserts, too, live within this landscape, places of torment, thirst so terrible, it all but suffocates the wandering spirit. But then, within the soul, the fire is ignited from the eternal spark, the birthright of every child of earth, who waits in trust for that moment within the dark night when heaven is opened and its radiance revealed. From this moment the heart is quickened, a destination has been glimpsed, home does exist. The sacred dove of the Creator reveals its existence to the seeking heart.
I'm now joined with Pastor Jack Lohr and Carol Minardi. On behalf of OKTV, I'd like to thank you, both of you, for allowing us to come in here to tape our show here in the church gallery. And let's see, Jack, could you tell us on how this idea first got started?
Well, I've been here pastor for 18 years, and it predates me. I believe it was 1963 or 64 when the church was quite young. A number of members were into the arts and wanted to put a show together. There was, I think, Carol, the first show may have been the works of Sadao Watanabe, a Japanese Christian artist that the pastor at that time had gotten to know and had brought a number of his paintings back. So they assembled a show and enjoyed it so much, sharing that artwork with the community, that they began from time to time to put other shows on. But Carol can really tell you more about the show since she's the gallery director.
Oh, okay, Carol. What is the criterion for the selection process of the gallery?
The gallery almost runs itself. I don't really pursue artists, but they always seem to come to me, and there's always an opportunity to have someone show. We do 10 shows a year, and they range in every medium from silk screen to oil paint to mixed media, collage, three-dimensional artwork, and so I like to just have all different kinds of artwork here at the church, and all different types of mediums.
So it's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing work here.
Right.
I had no idea that you had been doing this for that long.
Right. Well, sometimes we're the best hidden secret. But I actually took over for Cornelia Baker, who was the first official gallery director here at this PCFL. And I took over for her when she retired in 1995. And since then, I've been doing it voluntarily, and I love it. And it really does expose me to a lot of different artists and a lot of different wonderful people who share their gifts internally, which is sometimes most difficult for many people.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think it's a wonderful thing you folks do here. And again, maybe it's not going to be such a hidden secret anymore.
I hope not.
Well, that's great. That's great. Well, we just wanted to, could you tell us about our viewers about any exhibitions that are coming up in the near future?
Could you say the next artist's name?
Gildardo Rengifo. He's
Thank
a
you.
Colombian artist.
Thank
Go ahead,
you.
Carol.
He does sort of folk work. Some of it is contemporary scenes of New York, and some of it is scenes from his native land of Colombia. So he's next month, which would be this February and March, and after he is up, then an artist, Ilse Grunwald, who does mixed three-dimensional as well as two-dimensional art. And then we also support some organizations like what is it called, Community Arts Association. They're having their group exhibit here in June. So we have, like I said, 10 shows a year, and I'm off July and August, so we're very busy from September to June.
Well, that's wonderful. I want to thank you both for being with us tonight, and again allowing us to come in here to do the taping. And I wish you both much success.
Thank you.
It's a wonderful thing that you do here.
Thanks very much.
And that brings us to the close of another program. We hope that you've enjoyed this edition of Alternatives, featuring the artistic and poetic work of Jin Shin Jitsu practitioner Cara Krafchick. Our thanks to Carol Minardi and Pastor Jack Lahr of the Presbyterian Church of Franklin Lakes for making the gallery exhibits possible. We hope that you will continue to contact us on the internet at oktv.org or calling 201-405-1084. We look forward to hearing your comments. Until next time, I'm Al DiGiacomo. Thank you for watching Alternatives.